Hey everybody, Neil Thompson from Teach the Geek here. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. And as always, remember to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Every bit helps. I want to talk a bit about what you can do if you look out into the audience while you're giving a technical presentation and you see a bunch of blank stares, a bunch of people looking down at their phones, basically a bunch of people that look bored or not paying attention to what you're saying. So I have two suggestions. One of them is easier than the other, and the second one has a quite a number of caveats to it to even make it so that it may not even be applicable in some instances. So we'll start off with the first one. And the first one is really looking or just keeping your voice in check. You don't want to speak in a monotone voice because people will fall asleep. They could very well fall asleep, stop paying attention. It's not all that interesting to listen to someone speak in a monotone voice. So you want to have vocal variety in your voice. So in some instances, you're talking a little higher, in other instances, you're talking a little slower, maybe a little lower. So now people are really more inclined to listen to what you have to say because your voice is changing a bit. And that's a lot more interesting to listen to than to have just one voice, one way. And then another thing you could look into is the speed in which you speak. So you can speed up in certain areas, you can slow down in other areas. Again, it just keeps things interesting as opposed to just going steady at a single vocal tone. That's a recipe for people not paying attention. So the second thing you could possibly do, I think it can only really be done in a small enough group. If you have a big, you're speaking to a large audience, it's really difficult to do. And that's just calling on people. And when you have a smaller group, that's way easier to do because people will be able to hear the person you call on what they actually say. If you're talking to hundreds of people, you call on one person, the people in the back are likely not going to hear that person if that person's at the front. So if you have a small enough group, I'd say maybe 50 or less, you can use this tactic really well and call on somebody in the audience and just ask them a question. Maybe ask them if what you've said so far makes sense. To keep going. Is there anything that they would need some clarification on? Based on what you've already presented. And what that does is, firstly, it makes it so that people may actually pay attention better because they're worried about being called upon. You don't want to get caught out there and flat-footed, not knowing what to say because you weren't paying attention to the question, especially if there are VIPs in the audience, and you don't want to look embarrassed in front of those people. And then secondly, I mean, it just helps to just make it so that by paying attention, then you're actually going to take in what the person is saying. I mean, that's an obvious point, I would think. I mean, you're there to listen and get information from this person, and if they're calling on people, and you know that you could very well be called upon, and there's a chance that you're going to be called upon and have to answer a question, you're going to likely be more adept or be more willing to pay attention and not be that person that's kind of falling asleep and looking off into their phones and thinking about other things. You're going to be in there. You're going to be thinking, I don't want to get embarrassed in front of these people. So those are the two that come to mind when it comes to looking into an audience and seeing a bored audience. First, you can use vocal variation to just make sure that you're not speaking in a monotone voice. You can vary the speed of your voice too to make it so that it's more interesting to listen to. And then you can call on people to make sure that everyone is kind of on notice, that they could be called on and they don't want to be embarrassed in front of other people having to answer a question that they didn't hear, weren't listening for. So hopefully that's been helpful. Again, my name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. You can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. And as always, remember to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Every bit helps. Thanks. Have a great day.